Boom, I'm in the room. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Now, you're probably here because there's nothing on the telly. And I'm coming to you from the old Heale Manor. And I'm your host, Lord Heale. Now, today, what I want to have a look at is veterans on the street. And why so many veterans find themselves homeless and on the street and like that. So this is all part about taking the stigma out of mental well-being, taking the stigma out of mental health, and promoting mental wellness. Now, I'm always looking for guests to come on the show. At the moment, I'm away. This is why this is up as a pre-recording. But when I get back in July, I am looking for guests. I'm particularly looking for UK guests to come on the show and tell their stories about their mental well-being. So let's get on with it. Veterans on the streets and why so many of them are there. Now, when a young fella joins the army, they have great ideas. I mean, when there's a war on, and particularly when we were going through the Afghan and the Iraq campaigns, young lads were signing up in a droves to go and have a boy's own adventure, go to war. Well, the reality of going to war is quite different to what you see on the movies. It really is. I myself have been on many, many campaigns. I've seen an awful lot of stuff in my career. And it has affected. It does have a detrimental effect to your mental well-being. There's no getting away from it. But it's how you cope with it. Now, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people suffer from trauma. Whether it be a childhood trauma or something they've seen. And the classic is a car accident, a very bad car accident where it's taken people's lives. That can have a real effect on people's mental well-being, especially if they were partly the cause of the accident and they've got to try and live with that. But in the military, guys are looked after. When they're in the military, they're in this, like, a cotton wool. They're looked after. They're fed. They're watered. They're housed. They've got accommodation. They've got their mates around them. And for guys that's been in for a long time, they kind of get institutionalised. And that possibly is part of the problem. I had it when the first time I left the British Army. I'd done just coming up on 12 years. I came out into Civvy Street and I struggled. I struggled with civvy mentality towards work. The British Army are renowned for being able to get the job done, no matter what. Against all adversity, get the job done. That's the reason why whenever there's a national crisis, the first people they think of, get the military in, get the army in to sort it out. Because they'll get the job done. No, I mean, we've done it in the fireman's strike. Whenever there's a flood or something like that, or there's a national emergency, like the rollout of the jab. Call the military in to sort it out. Call the military in to distribute it. Call the military in to do this, do that. Because the military have the ethos, the mentality to get it done, get the job done at all costs. Civvies don't have that same drive. They don't have that same sense of purpose. It's not instilled in them. So when guys leave the military, that's when they start to struggle a little bit. I did. 2 years after I came out, I had a bit of a wobble. Some of the stuff that I'd seen in the past finally caught up with me, and I had to go and seek some help. But that's a different story. So guys are coming out, they find it really difficult to transition, find it, particularly if they're coming out single, they probably suffer the worst because they've got to find somewhere to live. They're at the bottom of the pile, they can't get any social housing, they're not looked after at all. Trying to find accommodation, trying to find a job, then trying to fit in with a job and all that, all starts to pile up on them. They start to go down the slippery slope of having the odd little snifter that turns into a problem. Then things go from bad to worse. They lose their job, lose the accommodation, and they find themselves on the streets with complex issues. I mean, complex PTSD from your service is a real thing. And without the support network around you, it's really challenging to transition into civil life. That's why it's really good when there is support networks there. We're really lucky in the south of England with our veterans services. It should be all across the country, but for us down the south, we've got the Veterans Outreach Support, which lays on different little events. We have regular tea and biscuits, meet up with other veterans, and people that understand what your problems are, what you've been through. There's Op Courage and Op Fortify, which is part of the NHS. So when you do get out, it's really important that when you register for your doctor, you tell them that you're a veteran. Let them know you're a veteran, because that opens up a couple of other doors that civvies don't normally get access to, like the Op Courage and the Op Fortify. They're specialists. They understand the military mentality, the military mindset. They understand what you're going through with your transition. And sometimes it takes a 2 or 3 years to actually sort of fully transition into civil life. So from that aspect, that's one of the reasons that veterans tend to end up on the street. They find it really difficult to transition. They find it really difficult to fit in to civilian life. Quite often, somebody will leave the military and don't want anything else to do with it. Don't want anything to do with the lads. They feel that, they don't want to bother the lads that's still in. They don't really want to mix with the guys that they was in with. They want to try and break free and try and get on with civvies. And quite often it doesn't work. I can honestly count probably on one hand how many actual civvy mates that I go with, that I know. Probably less than a handful. nearly all my mates are military or ex-military. And I'm really, really lucky, because although I struggled a little bit, I've got that extra support network around me. I've got a wife that understands what the military is all about, what being a military wife is all about. So she understands some of the issues that I've had. Plus, we've got a support network of, I'm a member of the Senior Rates Mess on HMS Victory. I've got Hornet Services Sailing Club. and I'm about to become a mess member of another mess with a bit of luck. So we get that added piece of still being in touch. And I like dressing up and going out for a dinner. But lots of blokes don't. They just want to leave it alone, walk away from it. And it ain't that easy. But it does pay off to keep in touch with your mates. It does pay off joining in some of these veterans groups. I understand that not all veterans groups are for you. But if you find yourself struggling, they're the first people that will turn to and help you. Because your civvy mates they ain't got a clue what you've been through. They won't. They really just have no clue. Most civvies have no idea of what the military does or what you've seen, what plays on your mind. But that's it. I mean, you have to accept that civvies don't understand. But it is important to stay in touch with veterans groups. It's important to go and commemorate every year at Armistice, where you bump into your mates again. If you only do it once a year, that's a good thing. There are lots of other groups around. There are something like 2,000 charities out there specifically aimed at veterans. You will be able to find a veterans group out there that you can fit into. That will help you if you are struggling. So, I think that's one of the reasons that you see so many veterans on the streets. The other thing is you also see an awful lot of the prison population being veterans, because all of those things that where it all starts breaking down, they find themselves the wrong side of the law. But that's a story for another day. So, until the next one, don't forget to smash the like button. If it's your first time here, it's free to subscribe to the channel. It's always nice to see new people coming along on the journey. It's also very nice if you'd like to put a comment in. If you like what I do, if you don't like what I do, if you've got any ideas of stuff you want me to cover, if you want to come on the show, feel free to pop it in the chat. So until the next one, TTFN. Ta-da for now.